Welcome. G'day, guys. Let's talk about why we choose, what we choose, and what are the other alternatives. Last episode, I compared to the three recent releases, which are the Sony ZV-E1, the Panasonic S52X, and the Fujifilm XS20. All fantastic offerings, all have their own strengths and weaknesses. In the end, I chose Canon R8 because its compactness, it's got you know inexpensive lens offerings which suit my needs, and the lack of IBIS and the shorter battery life can be mitigated somehow. That's why I think if you set the boundary, what you need to do, or what field of view you need, what image quality you need, and how much weight you are ready to carry day to day. So the answer for me is pretty obvious. I'm not prepared to carry over a kilogram or even above 900 grams. So for me, all up, card, battery, lens, camera, microphone, cable, all up, less than 900 grams. I think that's where I feel comfortable for the quality I'm after, up to 40, 30p. In the future, might be 60p, but at the moment, I'm happy with 30p. And today, we'll try something a little bit different. If you watch the last episode, that's probably the best scenario. So I shot at nighttime, and I'm using the same light above my head. I'm using the same microphone, but it was internally recorded. So for Canon, the internal recording does offer the best quality. So I use IPB light 4K 630p, and that was a recorded file straight from memory card to YouTube. That episode is where I compare the three cameras I just mentioned about, before. So today we're in webcam mode. There are not a lot of video talk about webcam. Most of the review videos, the big reviewers, they are more like advertisers for the manufacturer. So they got the camera before the release. They sign a what do you call that? What's the name? So as soon as the release time kicks, you got like 20 videos hit your timeline on your YouTube and the first go. So those reviewers all mentioned webcam function, but none of them actually thoroughly showcased them, actually thoroughly tested them. So they all say, oh, if you want, you can plug in a USB cable and use a webcam, and that's about it. The best review I've seen showed about less than 30 seconds. You can use for Zoom call, you can use for your Facebook streaming. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put into real world use. I'm gonna shoot a long video and stream straight away. No internal recording, no post editing, OBS on my little computer, 4 years old laptop, and right next to the camera. And then the microphone is about 10 inches away from my mouth, and microphone straight to the computer. And UAC mode, which is webcam mode. I'm not even sure I actually got a real 1080p because all I did was in the OBS, instead of camera default, which is like less than 720p, it was like 564p DVD resolution. So I changed to custom and then changed to 1080p. I'm not even sure that's correct, but anyway, let me know in the comments below how this episode compared to the previous episode, how the image quality you feel, how the sound quality. What I'm gonna compare today is Canon R8 versus its own siblings, so to speak, within the Canon family, RF family. So we got the R7, the most obvious direct competitor, which is a professional body, APS-C offering. Wildlife photographer love it. It's got IBIS, it's got fast autofocus, high frame rate, But what I mainly concern, or my main interest, is for shooting this type of video, studio shot or handheld vlog, how that compare. And then we got similar APS-C offering of the lesser R10 and even more entry R50. I don't think anyone consider R100. R100 is like, ooh, crap, right? But I seriously think R50 is not bad. R50 got most of what R10 offers. You know, sacrifice some controls and the same CMOS sensor, even slightly better firmware fixable autofocus improvement, and some other creative modes. But in essence, R50 is a simplified version of R10, while R10 is kind of a semi-simplified version of R7 and minus the IBIS. What I think is, even for full frame, I'm not prepared to carry over 900 grams. So tell me why R7 is almost the same weight as R6 Mark II. Why bother? If money no object, why you bother with R7? I don't understand. You got the longer LPE6 battery, yes, you got a longer battery life, you got IBIS, but in the end, it's the same weight as S52X. It's same weight as R5 or 4 for an APS-C, and Canon is 1.6 times crop factor. So what lens you gonna use? Well, we not benchmark the 16mm, which is unmatched in any system anyway. We just benchmark a, let's say, Sony 20mm f1.8 G lens. That lens is well received, one of the best working vlog lens. So in R7, tell me what lens you're gonna use can offer similar field of view between 18 to 21. So you're looking at APS-C's Canon crop. So you need 11mm to about 13, 14mm max. So what Canon has, or even EF system, what they have, nothing. There's nothing suitable. There's nothing, unless you're willing to use a manual focus. But then manual focus, what for? You buy a brand new camera and use manual only focus, and you try to rack focus and try to get a sharp shot on your eye. That's mission impossible. So what I think the R7's biggest shortcoming is its weight, and then its prime lens choices, or even zoom. What zoom are you gonna use? There's no 10 to 18, there's no 10 to 22, there's no 11 to 22. So even you don't care about the aperture, you don't even have a 10mm or 11mm native lens. Well, unless of course you adapt the EFS lens, then the bulk, the adapter and everything. Again, what for? You could get an R8 or you could get R6 Mark II with a 16mm. It doesn't cost that much more, right? So for the longest time, since the announcement of Canon announced the R8 till about last 1 month, the R8 in Australia retail, I kid you not, almost $1,000 more than the R7, 1,000 Australian dollar more, while their US price are exactly the same, $1,500. The R8 was at $2,999 on the first day, and then dropped down to $2,599, and now finally I bought this for $2,399, which, you know, consider about 10% GST and the currency conversion, it's about 1570 US dollars, which is not too bad considering everything in Australia costs you an arm and a leg. So at this price, which, you know, in line with the US price, I think R8 is incredible value, incredible. R7, you can get it on the street for $200 cheaper Australian dollars, but I wouldn't sacrifice the sensor size from here to 1.6 on each dimension, become like that, and then you added weight and heft for a little bit longer battery life. In my opinion, that's not a trade-off I would want to take. However, if you look at the lesser siblings, the equation kind of tilt differently. For one, you could use a R50 with this 16mm, and then it offers you around about 26mm, which is not bad. 26mm, you can do a studio shot. So the ultra wide on the full frame, same lens can be used on R50 for a behind the camera, or so to speak, studio shot, which is, about this much, or let's say this much, yeah, this much, which is okay. You don't need to see all this. This is all because I got this lens and I got that distance. So I have to, because I got a table in between me and the camera. So yeah, 24mm behind the camera, 26mm with a crop, it's appropriate. Even with another digital crop, it's 28. That's ideal. I actually want to buy the new RF Pancake 28 in the future for this kind of shot. And then I'll just handhold the 16, and then 50 will be like, walk around street lens for me. And 28 and 50 do both photo functions. And the 16 and 28 do my video functions. So I have 3 lenses with me, 1 camera, 3 lenses, all interchangeable, all very small, put in a sling bag, happy days. So if I'd add a second camera at home and for longer trips, especially I have national park nature and wildlife plan in my trip, I'll take both. Both are fantastic autofocus. Both are fantastic at tracking animals. So I can carry one more telezoom. I haven't decided, but I've got the 100 to 400L Mark II EF lenses. Still fantastic. I can carry that and use with adapter with or without a teleconverter on the R50 for birds, wildlife, and then my R8 can be a photo camera just for, families, 28th Street, and then, restaurant, food on the 50. What you don't get with that is IBIS. So in low light, IBIS for photo is very, very helpful. There's no denying. However, with excellent high ISO, I don't really think it's a killer feature I have to have. It's not deal breaker for me, in other words, right? So if one camera, I wouldn't choose R7. If 2 camera, because of battery compatibility, it's odd or against logic to choose R7 and R8. Even money, no object, right? And people will say, what about R6 Mark II? You choose 1 camera, photo and video, all done. You could do that, and it's got IBIS. However, it's also got the wobbles. The IBIS, the strong IBIS comes with its wobbles in the corner. So when you walk, you will see the tree get stretch, and your face is very stable, and the Mickey Mouse will be like moving. If I'm gonna handheld this and walking, mimic a walking, and you will see my face is very stabilized, and then all these backgrounds are stretching. Well, Canon's is not the worst, but 16mm is challenging. I just say that's this much. And also, if you use 1 camera, there are more things to consider. So you got to change more lenses, because what I feel is 16mm for me, it's only for vlogging. Yeah, I'm using this because 28 RF, it's going to be available next month in July. Now it's June 2023. There isn't any 28. I had a 24 1.8 before, but it was stolen last Christmas. I mentioned that in my pre-season episode, the unboxing episode, the story. If you're interested, you can go back and check that episode. So it's probably just me. I can repurchase 16 because I sold the 16 as soon as I got the 24, but I just inclined to buy another 24. I just feel, no, it's my bad luck lens. I'm not gonna buy it back. Even I think it's not too bad. However, I have to have the 16. As I mentioned in that episode, 16mm offer me exactly what I wanted when digital stab is on, because you need this wide for handheld. If you hold your camera on your little support or no support at all, stretching your arm, 24 is too tight. You cannot use 24, especially Canon's IS is not good enough. Even with IBIS plus IS. I don't think handheld with zero digital step is the way to go. Digital step does offer something very micro, so it get rid of those micro shake. Yeah, Canon's digital step is, I feel they probably calculate more frame per second than the other company. I don't know. Maybe Sony is on par with Canon, but I certainly don't think Fujifilm or other companies' digital step is at the same level as Canon. So yeah, that's my choice. Obviously, R6 Mark II on the street you can buy in Australia for about $1,100 more or $1,000 more than R8, which is about only $700 more, which not bad value. You get bigger battery, double dual card slots, and IBIS. But then you deal with hefty, not hefty, but like heavier weight. And if you use the 16mm, IBIS alone gonna give you wobble. If you use no IBIS but digital enhanced, then what do you get? And then with autofocus, I think they are on par. They are exactly the same. For wildlife, because you're using 1,000th of a second, 2,000th of a second shutter speed, so the IBIS won't help anyway. What else you get? Photo mode, yes, you do get a little bit, and if you use better, like L prime, the R6 Mark II balance better on the weight distribution. R8 probably tip front heavy. But where's Canon 35L? I've been waiting for that lens for the last 3 years. I don't want to buy the 35 IS f1.8 because the autofocus, I think the first prime of this series, the 35 has the weakest autofocus. Same STM motor, or maybe because the 16 and 50 have smaller glasses to move, so the 16mm has not bad autofocus. A lot of people say it's shit, but actually I don't think it's too bad. Yeah, especially for my intended purpose. I don't really do a lot of, you know, from the closest focus to the far focus. I don't really do that, so doesn't really bother me that much. The 24mm autofocus better than 35, and the 50 is similar to the EF50, which is loud, but it's not too slow. It's loud, but it's not too slow. Well, I wish Canon would release a USM motor prime in what, 18, 20, 16 or 14 mil, whatever Canon do next, ultra wide. I'll be excited to see, and I might purchase it because this 16 mil first is 2.8. Second, it's not so good in the corners, and third, it's kind of too small. I don't mind 24, like 300 something grams or 400 grams. It's okay. It's on my upper limit of a 400-gram lens with this R8 body. I think it will balance okay. It's not too front heavy, and if the image quality is good, like the Sony 14GM lens, it's small, compact, and crazy image quality, and f1.8 with their 1.4 times dynamic active state, I do think that's actually their best vlogging lens, but it's got a bulbous front element, so you're gonna be careful, or you have to use, I don't know, protect, yeah, good luck on that. That's a whole double of the cost of this. All you get is about 1.4 and about 20 mil. So you get 20 mil equivalent with ZV-E1 dynamic step 14 GM at 1.8. You get the bokeh, the toner of 14 mil, but you get the field of view of 20 mil, and very, very stable. If that's your priority, it's not a bad investment, because I think the sensor alone is worth the asking price. I don't see any problem buying ZV-E1. I'm not bashing it. I think it's great. However, I just don't feel I'm prepared to spend 14 GM plus ZV-E1 at this stage, and I think that's the best combo. That's why, given the budget restraint, I think R8 with 3 prime lenses, 16, the 28 will be available next month, and 50, 3 RF small compact primes in a small bag with, little handle. It will go anywhere. It'll be enough for me. Photo, video, shooting yourself, walking vlog, shooting behind the camera, in a hotel room, on a table, at a restaurant, whatever. I think it can do streaming, can do everything. The only thing you're missing, probably wildlife. Then you carry a telephoto lens, and the price Canon asks for RF teleconverter. You could as well just buy a new R50. It's the same thing. 24 megapixel on R8. You buy a RF 1.4 teleconverter, and then you put on an RF lens, and you better just buy an R50. You get a 1.6 times 24 mil. So it's like a 1.6 times teleconverter, and you get a new camera body. Share the same battery, why not? And you can use that for streaming. And if you're behind the camera, put the 16 mil lens on the R50. It will work. It will work fantastic. That's it. I think this episode has been longer than I expected. That's my takes on why I choose R8 over R7, and also why I think R10 and R50 has their own places in the lineup. As a B cam or C cam, as a backup, R50 is actually quite good. It's less than half price of the R8. It's probably a little bit over 1/3 of the price. It's crazy to think like that. It's just the price of an RF 1.4 teleconverter asking price. You get a whole camera, and does autofocus, and shoot 4K 30. Yeah. All right, let's end this live stream. I will see you guys in the next episode. See you. Bye.